All right, back in the basement again today, and I've partnered up with Spartan to talk about my fitness journey, which for me is something that I really like to look back and reflect upon. And oddly enough, I've done more than just equipment reviews and powerlifting in my training lifetime. And I want to talk about that in today's video. And for me, I've been making YouTube videos for around 10 years now, 6 of which have been focused around equipment reviews, 7 of which have been focused around powerlifting. And when I take a look at my overall training history, I'm hitting the 25-year mark now. I'm 40 years old, and I started really training when I was 15. And by real training, I mean in a gym with a barbell with the intent to get stronger at lifting. And before that, I was still doing some stuff like push-ups and pull-ups and curls with cement weights in my parents' basement. And here I am, 25 years later, in my own basement doing, oddly enough, a lot of the same things. So I want to just talk about my journey, how I got into training, where I've gone in my time, and maybe a little bit about nutrition and where I potentially see myself going. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback and comments about your own journey, because I know there's a lot of people that watch my channel that have really overcome some great obstacles in their lifetime. And it's really good to hear that kind of stuff if I've helped play a small role in helping you get there, or at least helping you choose the right equipment in order to do so. So as I mentioned, I really started to get in the gym around 15 or so, about the time I started playing high school sports. So in high school, I played basketball all 4 years of school there. I used to think myself somewhat athletic and somewhat in good shape. And a lot of that was just literally doing what I knew. So whatever came intuitively, which means push-ups, pull-ups, maybe some bench press work, maybe some curls, but that was really the extent of my training knowledge. And I had seen some stuff like with Arnold Schwarzenegger growing up, as a kid of the 80s, I saw all his action movies and the big muscle guys with He-Man and things of that. But I really didn't know much about training. And even when I started to get into that as part of my athletic background, the coaches there weren't really well versed in strength training. Yes, we had a really great football program at my school, which was in Northern Virginia at the time. And they had a dedicated weight training program that you could take as an elective instead of taking things like gym. But I found that there wasn't any actual comprehensive programming. In fact, for basketball, all my coach really cared about was how much we benched and how much we could curl. Literally, that's what he would ask us, and that's what he kind of set his expectations on. In strength, as long as those two numbers were going up, that's what you were doing. And it was interesting because I did take weight training as a class in high school. It was really cool because at the time, everything was done kind of the old-fashioned way, meaning that we had a bunch of poster board up throughout the course of the gym. At the beginning of the school year, you would put your name, you'd max out on certain lifts, you would fill that number in with a blue marker, basically. And as you went and tried to new max attempts, the coach would give you a red marker, and you could basically track your progress and see how much you would gain over the course of the year. And of course, if you followed through year over year with the program, you could really see a lot of that progress, which was really cool to see. But for me, that meant that the only time I would actually do a lot of those lifts we tested out at, like deadlifts and squats, was at the end of the semester. And I was just really concerned with my benching and curling. Now, fast forward a little bit later, I graduated high school. I went to college to play basketball my freshman year at a small school outside of Richmond, Virginia. And the coach was really big into weight training, but again, didn't really know anything about programming. The program he had us on was he'd have us go and run a couple of miles. He'd have us go and hit the weight room and basically be going to RPE 10 on every single set, so to failure. We'd then go and practice for 2 or 3 hours, and I lost a lot of weight and a lot of strength doing that. At the time, I think freshman year of college, I was 6'4", and I maybe weighed 190 pounds, as opposed to right now, my comfortable weight is 225 pounds. And a lot of people still question if I even lift. So imagine me right now, but 35 pounds lighter. And 35 pounds is a very important number in my life, as you guys all well know. But again, didn't really learn much that way. In fact, I was doing so much activity and losing so much weight I couldn't keep weight on that I actually developed stress fractures in my feet from practicing and training for basketball, which ended up sidelining me most of that season. And combined with some other things going on, I decided to leave basketball altogether. Now, interestingly enough, it was during that time when I couldn't participate, when I couldn't run, where I was just basically sitting on the sidelines, that I really got into weight training. I started exploring more. I joined the bodybuilding.com forums, if you guys remember that. Started reading a lot more material. I bought Arnold's Modern Encyclopedia book and really just started to try actual training programs versus just go off stuff that I would see in magazines or things like that. And that's when I finally started to put on weight. When I went and actually did a training program, when I cut out all of the athletics that I was doing and all the running and aerobics that was really eating up all my calories. And I really started getting the weight. And by the end of freshman year, I think I weighed 220 pounds or so. So 30 pounds difference throughout the course of the year. I have the stretch marks to prove it. But that was really eye-opening for me. And at that point, I really realized that I liked training more than I liked playing basketball. Now, from there, I went on quite an extensive journey of bodybuilding style training. Again, was really into that at the time. Everyone wanted to get big, jacked. Protein supplements were starting to get really big. Other weight training supplements were starting to get really big. There wasn't a lot of wealth of information because the internet was still fairly new for most people. Again, there were message boards and things like that, or you talk to the big person at your gym and try to see what they were doing to try to get the best out of it. Nutrition-wise, I ate what I would consider very clean and very healthy, but again, probably not to the point that it was doing me much, if any, good, because I probably was undereating when I was trying to cut, or if I wanted to go into a bulk, I was probably overeating and just ended up putting on a lot more weight. So it was really an eye-opening experience, a lot of trial and error, and not where we are today where everything's kind of laid out for us. There's tons of studies, things like that available, a lot of programs there that are kind of guaranteed to get you strong if you can follow them. And I was doing that for a long time. Probably about 10 years worth of my training life was just doing like that bodybuilding style training up until the point where I hit my 30s, maybe even early 30s. And at the time, I had just started a YouTube channel, which was really focused on just training and mostly supplement reviews. Because again, I was in the situation where I didn't really know much about supplements, and neither did a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of good feedback. So I was trying my best to try different supplements and do video reviews on YouTube to be helpful because that wasn't a thing at the time. And then people started asking me, what are you doing for diet? What are you doing for training? Which led me to make a lot of those videos. But I started to get bored of my training. Now, again, 10 years of the same type. I had seen some progress, but it had kind of stalled out, and I found I was just kind of going through the motions. And while I really enjoyed going to the gym, it doesn't really scratch that competitive itch that I've always had deep down inside of me. And around that time is when I started to get more interested in powerlifting and strength training, which strength is always something that's really impressed me. But at the time, it was just more training for size because that's what I wanted to do. But that mindset started to shift and get more into strength-based training. So I ran a couple of programs like dog crap training, Wendler training, and I started to hire some coaches. And a couple years after doing that, I decided to get back into powerlifting, which I had done a powerlifting meet way back in high school. And I wanted to get back into powerlifting again. And around 2013, I did my first powerlifting meet in a real federation where I actually completed it because in my high school one, I think I really only benched and deadlift. But this time, bench, squat, and deadlift, and I was hooked. From there, I've done something like a dozen meets in a couple different federations, and you guys have seen a lot of that progress over the years where that's been my main area of focus, and I've really enjoyed that, and I think I will continue to do that as I've gotten a lot smarter about my training, about my diet, about what works, what doesn't work, and what I don't need to waste my money on anymore. But that's where I am right now. And I say that because I've partnered with Spartan in this particular video, and they have some interesting things to offer no matter what your training or lifestyle is like. So I'm sure I don't have to tell you too much about Spartan when it comes to their racing. We've all heard of them, right? They're held in over 30 countries across the world and range in difficulty from 3 miles to over marathon length distances. And they're a great opportunity for you to compete either as an individual and get outside the gym or as a team to build some camaraderie with your friends and family. However, Spartan is much more than just a racing company. They're a global fitness brand with a community of over 10 million who have a really strong focus on functional health and wellness to help you perform better, recover, and optimize your everyday potential. First, I want to tell you about Spartan Fit, which is a new app with world-class coaches and workouts for everyone. No matter if you're a beginner or have years in the gym like myself, there's something for you. You can access all the coaches and programs with an easy-to-use interface and use my link below to get a 7-day free trial and try it out for yourself. I also want to tell you about Spartan Nutrition, which has products that help maximize your training and recovery. From hydration to energy to recovery and protein, there's something for everyone. Right now, you can use my link and code Brandon40 to save 40% off any Spartan Nutrition product. As I just got done telling you, a lot of my progress took time through trial and error. You can take the guesswork out of your training and check out Spartan's offerings below in the description box. So as I mentioned, I'm still really interested in the strength training aspect of everything, but because I know so much more about my own training and how to set up programs and training cycles, I can still hit that hypertrophy block if I want to. I can still test out my strength when it's ready. I can add things in like riding the bike or going out and playing with my kids or altering my nutrition in order to meet my goals and either not lose too much weight or not put on too much. And at the end of the day, I think I really got all my bases covered. Now, I'd be really interested to hear about your own fitness journeys. If you have anything interesting to share, any questions, any tips for anyone else, please feel free to throw them in the comment section below. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.